I'm Ricky.
And I'm Joe, and this is Season 8, Episode 6 of the Beer and Broadband Podcast. It's the Memorial Day episode. Happy Memorial Day. We do not have happy topics, though. But this is slated to come out on May 19th, 2025. I was trying so hard not to say March. I kept wanting to say it. I knew it's an M one, but it's May 19th, 2025. Happy Memorial Day. And we're going to talk about a lot of AI stuff and Fancy Cow's Kolsch style ale that was brewed for this place that's here in Pittsburgh called Fearington Village by BMC Brewing, which is a local brewer. And they named it after their fancy cows, which are these furry cows that they have that are like very hardy and small comparatively, and they have like this white stripe around them. And they have that white stripe because they were bred that way. It came from like in a breeding of like a more like hardy but bigger cow and the smaller cow, and I've forgotten all the details about it, so I don't want to lead anyone astray, but it was a very interesting topic. But they brewed a Kolsch for Fearington Village that's 4.8%, and I don't know anything else about it other than it's a fancy cow brew. So Ricky, what do you think?
Man, I'm struggling to describe it. It's not bad. It's a little sweet, it's a little fruity, it's very thin. It's kind of like beer flavored water. And not necessarily like in a bad way. Like it is a light beer in the sense of like just its style is generally like lighter on flavor. I like it. It's very crushable.
Yeah, it's very
But
citrusy without having all that like IPA hoppiness.
yeah, it's got some like citrus fruit notes. It's got like some honey notes.
Mm-hmm.
It's not a bad beer. It I'm kind of on the fence a little bit about how like watery it is.
So I think if we had had this beer first, we wouldn't think it's as watery as it is, but our tongues have been acclimated to. So for anybody that doesn't know, that's tuning in like for the first time, we do these in batches generally, and we've drank a porter and a stout back to back over the last two episodes, and we just drank the last of the stout that we had. I don't think it's as watery as it perceives because our tongues are coated from the stout. We have that mouthfeel still.
I don't know. I'm pushed back on that just because like I do rinse, and so I drink like some water in between mine to like reset. Like it and it's not in a bad way. Like I'm not trying to say it's watery and it's bad.
Yeah, it's light bodied.
It's very light bodied. It's like it's beer flavored seltzer water almost with a small amount of alcohol in it. And like that's not bad. Like it's very refreshing. Like in all honesty, because this is like our third drink, it's a little bit warmer than some of the other ones we put out. Probably would also be like excellent super cold, like incredibly refreshing.
I imagine it would be excellent super cold. I should have brought an ice pack to keep these things like very very.
I mean,
cold.
I don't think it's bad at the temperature it is. I mean, it's still probably like what 45 degrees, something like that.
Yeah,
50
versus
like
it would have to be like 45 because the can was still very cold.
yeah, like it's not bad. I like it. I know that there's gonna be a lot of people who don't like it. Is maybe what I'm getting at. Is like a lot of people like a very strong beer. They like a very flavorful beer. This ain't it. But this is an incredibly refreshing. Like it fills the void to me where I think a lot of people go for like a light beer. And I would try and classify this as such, but I don't know like how many calories are in and stuff like that. But like it's only 4.8 ABV. You could absolutely, I feel like, sit out on a patio, with a 16 ounce, 24 ounce glass of this, something like that. Just drink it the whole time,
Yeah, have it with a steak, have it with some fish. It'd go good with both. I had some German beers that were very similar to this.
Mm-hmm.
This is a European style Kolsch ale, and I so what to me this is like a normal bodied beer.
Mm-hmm.
Like whenever I drink like something like an amber ale or a fruit beer or something like this. This is the body that I normally get off those beers.
Really?
Yeah. Like there generally isn't much more body to it than this. It's like a very light body, especially when it's like less than 5% ABV. there are some things that like they'll have like a little bit more of like a mouth feel to them, you
Mm-hmm.
know. So I'm not saying that they're all like this, but this is not my. This is generally like what I kind of get from like a beer style like this. Um, I think the probably if it had been 10 degrees colder, like around 35 degrees, you know, just above freezing,
Mm-hmm.
this would probably be very crisp and refreshing and like the kind of thing that I'd want to drink, you know, after doing some manual labor.
Yeah, I mean, I'll say at 45, I think it's still pretty dang refreshing.
It is. It's
It's
very
pretty good.
refreshing. Yeah, it is definitely. Agree with you. Um, again, started talking to you
Mm.
as soon as you said the thing. I gotta pause more. It sounds like I'm interrupting you. Like, no, quit talking about that to me in my head, and then I'm like, no, that's not what I meant. I
Oh,
just
you're
meant I'm
fine.
agreeing with you. Don't want to be rude, but yeah. So agreed. If you like light-bodied beers, like I'm struggling to think of like one right now, but you know, any sort of like Irish Red, or Farmhouse Ale. I think Wicked Weed has one. I'm pretty sure that uh, Allgash has one too.
Mm-hmm.
But it does. It's not super hoppy. This is like a good beer for that. Unfortunately, you probably can't get it because they only sell it at Farrington Village. So unless you're in North Carolina and you're going to Pittsburgh to Farrington Village, you're probably not going to get some.
Yeah, it's good though.
Yeah,
You'll wish you did.
yeah, it's a very good beer. But if you get a chance, go to Farrington Village, find the shop that's so there's like a sandwich shop, and you go down. There's like a wine shop down there. They sell the fancy cow Kolsch style ale. I don't. Why does it have a cookie on it?
I assume that was something with the brewer, like maybe that they do some stuff like that. It's
Oh,
certainly nothing to do with the beer.
BMC Brewing is stands for Bite My Cookies.
Oh, well, there you
That's
go.
why. Yeah, this their symbol. All right. Well, AI customer support.
Yeah.
Is that the future? Is this the way that we're going? Are we getting rid of all of our low level customer support people that sit in call centers so that we can save a buck?
In all honesty, I'm gonna draw a line on that. I think yes, it is 100% the future. I don't think we're getting rid of all of our frontline. I think people tried that. I think it's gone very poorly. There's been a lot of hallucinations. It's a new thing in the news almost every month, and it's not really getting better because your your frontline people are going to receive the wildest, most varied requests. They're also going to be the very first people interacted with people trying to break your system, trying to, cause your company harm by like engineering prompts and stuff like that to get it to do things it shouldn't do. I think, in all honesty, it's probably replacing click to chat. I think what we're going to probably land in long term is that click to chat is AIs with an option when it's done of like, was this helpful? And if you say no, you go to a real person.
So something that's more scripted, like I mean, in many ways that's been there for a while.
It's been
Yeah,
there, but it has been on exactly as you said, like a very strict script. There's like 20 whatever things it knows how to do, and it basically feeds you documentation and says, was this helpful? And if you say no, you go to a real person. This one is actually going to talk to you. It's going to try and figure out your issue. It's going to try and fix it. And it's a like, did that work? Or was this helpful? And if you say no, it'll open you up a case. And I think click to chat goes away, in all honesty, is this thing manned by people, which has already been a trend that's been going on. But I think AI is good enough that very limited click to chat, they can't do anything other than just like talk to systems, because you're not going to want to give, what we're learning very quickly is you don't want to give these AI tools access to like real stuff
yeah,
within your company, right? It's just a documentation system, tries to serve alerts, stuff like that. And if that doesn't work, you get tier one that probably has AI assisted tools.
yeah. So and I think that's really reasonable, right? Like I don't think I know that we went from not having AI
Hmm.
and it's it's a form of AI, but we went from not having AI to having AI fairly quick, and now we've gone from it not being very useful to it doing a lot of tasks fairly
Hmm.
quick, right?
Yeah.
But it doesn't like things don't scale like that. Like eventually you start hitting walls where things like have to like grow at like a slower pace, right?
Yeah.
And
Well,
and technology we
mhm.
found has worked that way. Like we, how many people still have phones from 6 years ago that work just fine doing 90% of the tasks, and they just may not run like some new fancy ray traced game that's on
Yeah.
Android or
Exactly.
iPhone. You know,
Yeah.
like that we you hit a wall with technology where like you make more incremental steps
Mhm.
than you do these big steps.
A hundred
I mean,
percent. Yeah, you
Moore's
hit the
law had that
refinement.
same sort of thing
Yeah.
that hit with it too, right? Like where instead of like doubling the clock speed,
Mhm.
we found other efficiencies that make it faster. So we've kind
Yeah.
of hit like a spot where like 5 gigahertz for like 6 7 years we've been there instead of like doubling every 2 years. We're just
Yeah.
still kind of there.
Oh well, yeah. Well, because we can't. And that's a fun thing I got to learn. I had a guest speaker when I was in university who was talking about that exact same phenomenon. He was like, the reason we don't see GPUs getting faster is we've actually run into limitations at the speed of light.
Yeah.
You know, like, yeah, you always run in that's like a slightly different thing, I'd say, because that is like a technical limitation. But I 100% agree. Any technology that's being used by people, especially if it's going to be wide adopted, hits a massive adoption phase and then revisions after that, because we see problems with AI constantly of the hallucinations that are causing damage to the companies,
Right.
either by the AI being tricked into doing things that it shouldn't be doing, or it just giving out false information very confidently and tricking people into stuff. So, like, yeah, I think we're going to see AI continue to be adopted in a lot of places. Access is going to be restricted, and we're already in the midst of now. It's like, here's what this tool can do, and now people, bad actors, are really working on here's how you can break it.
Right.
And like the security concerns with AI, I think are just so massive. Like, I truly don't think people understand well enough just like how bad this stuff gets,
Hmm.
because it often has so little oversight. Like, you don't catch a problem until the damage is done.
Right,
Is
because
kind of
it's
the
not
thing.
like other scripts and things like that, which give you like feedback throughout their process. It like even like with reasoning models, they'll tell you what they, but they're telling you after they've already like kind of
Hmm.
like decided what they're gonna do.
Yeah, there's that level of it, and then there's also, when you have, like, we'll use click to chat because it's kind of the example you brought in. You've got click to chat agents, they have their set of documentation. You're not really worried globally all of your click to chat agents are going to start giving out false information.
Right.
You might have a bad agent who makes some mistakes, or like somebody who does something they shouldn't do. That's a person individual issue that you can fix.
Even if you have
But
10 and but you have 100 agents,
yeah,
well, that's a bad thing. You can get rid of those 10 people and replace them with.
or retrain them or whatever you're going
Yeah.
to do with it about that problem, right? But like, AI runs often in these companies with so little immediate oversight. Not saying things are getting logged, but there's no one in real time watching those logs come
Right.
through looking for problems.
Well,
That,
there's
like,
so much happening. It's almost impossible for a
yeah,
human to.
there's so yeah, it would be like saying, hey, I'm all 100 of my click to chat agents. You're going to report to one person who's going to watch all of your actions.
Right.
It's not feasible at any realistic scale, you know. So yeah, we're going to continue to see this problem. I mean, this is kind of like, this is what's happened with the internet, right? The internet went through the same thing. Like, the internet was originally a network of, you knew where you were going. I want to go to Joe's website. He's giving me an IP address,
Right.
right? Like, with a direct connection. You weren't search engines or weren't all this other stuff. Now the internet's like a black box. Whole companies exist like Thousand Eyes to try and make it look less like a black box, because you just send your data off somewhere and you hope it gets to where it's going.
Mm-hmm.
And AI is doing that for other things.
Yep.
You're just feeding into this black box and getting information out. You don't see necessarily everything that's happening. And in a lot of cases, if you don't, well, I guess you don't. Sometimes you ran on spam websites or redirects and stuff like that. But, reasonably, most of the time, whether or not your web request went through or not, right? Like, if I typed in a URL wrong and it's not registered somewhere, I just get,
A
my
404 or
yeah,
something
something
like
like
that.
that. It's like, oh, that website doesn't exist. Now, maybe I did a .net instead of a .com, and now I'm on a scam website or something, and that's like its own problem. But, you know, I know whether or not my web request was successful. with an AI with hallucination, yeah, you got a response back, but is it right? Is it even close to right? Is it actively false? We don't know those things.
Yeah. And you don't have a way of like checking it either.
Not fast enough for it to be useful, yeah. Because right now, and I'm not going to say I'm on the cutting edge of stuff, but from what I understand, right now the really only good, in good in quotation marks, anti-hallucination stuff we have is to have it go ask another AI
Yeah.
and see if it comes with the same answer. So it's basically like the same AI with the two clusters. It's like, hey, primary cluster asks a secondary cluster. If it gets the same answer, you're probably okay. And that does reduce it, but like that's still not great.
Yeah.
You know, there's still no assurance.
And what if the second cluster hallucinates something completely different, but then responds with yes? Because that happens sometimes. I mean,
yeah, or like, what if you actually have the right answer, but the second AI hallucinates a wrong answer? You know,
exactly.
it's like
Both
you get
things.
false positives, false negatives. It's not amazing.
Mm-mm.
And as people are, it like in the days of AI where it was like funny haha tool,
Yeah.
right? Hallucinations were not great, but it wasn't a big deal. But now that you're replacing like critical business functions and people with AI, it's a huge deal. You would not tolerate an employee that gives a wrong answer 10% of the time if you were in a support role. You just wouldn't. You know, like survey scores, because we used to work in a call center a long time ago.
Both of us did.
You had to get like 5 stars in 19 or 20 out of your surveys. And that's if your other survey was a 4-star.
Right.
To keep your rating high enough. Somebody gave you a 1-star because they were angry at something, like management would get involved to try and revoke it for you because you needed hundreds of 5 stars to catch up to be within your metric. That's how accurate and useful we were asking people to be. But we're saying AIs, just do your best. It's not good customer experience. It's not, I mean, a good way to run your business. Why people keep landing in the news. You know, it's, I think what we're doing right now is not sustainable long term. And people will instead settle into it just need to be a tool. It's fine if click-to-chat gets replaced and it can only answer like 50 questions. Cool. If it's not useful, or if it, you know, in this little detection system, it's like, hey, oh, I think I almost heard a hallucination. Say, I'm sorry, I don't know how to help you with that. Here's a real person.
Yeah.
And that real person can have tools that help them scroll knowledge articles and stuff like that. But even just that barrier of a person, because I know we're going to link an article in here, and the article talks about.
Yeah, they completely replaced their support staff with an AI.
Well, yeah, but we want the support. The AI did was it just made up a policy that didn't really exist. A human would catch that,
right?
And like, so cool. Yeah, maybe you don't need 100 support agents anymore. You can have 30 or 40 support agents, and they're assisted by tools. Sure, I still don't like that because I still think it messes up with the pipeline, the talent pipeline. But like, at least that's way more reasonable than the AI will do just fine, right?
Well, there's also a cost there because, like, so we have this whole like cloud thing that we talk about now in businesses, and you talk about this all the time. How you it cost you almost $18,000 for a mistake that was made that you didn't actually do, right? And that was using, you know, something that was supposed to be either free or low cost.
Yeah,
and
it was like $3 a month before then.
And the real issue was there. It ran out. It like went crazy. When you don't have safeguards on things, then it kind of goes crazy. Sam Altman's already talking about how for people just to say thank you to the AI, it costs like 100. It's not $100. It's 100 tokens, or something like that, which is more than $100.
Yeah, it was like hundreds of millions of dollars for globally for people just being nice to the AI.
Yes, so people being nice to the AI is costing hundreds of millions of dollars. It might be more expensive, and to like have AI answering these questions than it is to have like a person that you're paying.
I think a large language model, 100%. But I think I've made that argument in the past. I don't think large language models are where this goes long term.
Yeah.
I think ultimately, in the future, what you do is someone's like, hey, you want a virtual chat assistant? Cool. I mean, in all honesty, a lot of virtual chat assistants with just very minor AI stuff can just be buttons. It's like, here, select your categories. You see that sometimes now. It's like, Even just as flat non-AI enabled things, they're like this button enabled. Here's all my information. Throw a very like a nice open source language model there that doesn't cost very much to just handle a little bit of actual talking, and you're like 90% of the way there, right? You don't need ChatGPT 4
No.
to say, hey, what's your email address for contact me, or I have a question about your product. Like you don't need all that power. You don't need all the information on the internet to answer a question about your product for your company. Why should I be able to ask your chat assistant, hey, tell me a bit about the weather patterns in Belarus?
Yeah.
You don't need
They
that.
don't need to know that.
You don't need to know that. You don't need all that extra stuff. Slim it down. Language models are cool because you can talk to them, and I still think there is someday someone will nail a really good like virtual assistant. I think that's where a large language model will actually be useful. Is if you can integrate it with a bunch of tools and it talks really well. I don't think it needs all the information on the internet, but there is something to be said about like I've got installed on my computer a little assistant who will search for me, who will if I say I want to set up um, like a bar run with Joe, send him an invite for 6 p.m. Sunday, the whatever, and it can just go and do that. That's value. And that does need to be able to understand natural language a lot better than other things.
Right.
But if you're not doing that, why do we need such an expensive, high process, high demand thing for what, in all honesty, click to chat kind of exists for people who won't read an FAQ?
Right.
That's
Yeah.
what it's there for.
Why do you need something that'll? I mean, I can run essentially a smaller. It was trained right,
Mm.
but I don't need to reach out to ChatGPT.
Mm-hmm.
I can run like a DeepSeek R1 or
Local,
like
100%.
a local llama model, and it'll do essentially the same thing. It'll hallucinate sometimes, but it gives me back for the most part stuff. And I've turned to that more than I have any of the DeepSeeks or anything like that. Like it does way better when it comes to that stuff. And I think ultimately that is the problem right there. Like you don't need all that. And this is like in this example, and people that are like looking to like jump on board and like get rid of their support staff and stuff like that, that it really, like, even when we started talking about AI in the beginning, it is a force multiplier. It is not a replacement. It's not there yet. And if it ever becomes there, it's probably going to be so expensive to begin with that it's not like financially viable.
Yeah.
I could not trust something like that in a company that does something like that. I'd be like, oh man. But like the people that are looking at doing this, they don't look at things the way that I do.
Yeah.
They're more willing to take those risks. And they're more willing to kind of like swindle a little bit to get what they want, where I'm not willing to do that. So, not that I'm saying they're all swindlers, liars, and cheats, but I think that's probably a good introduction to our next person, who probably is a little bit more of a swindler, liar, and cheat. I don't know him personally, and I'm not going to say anything like that, but all right. So to preface this, we all already have Android or Apple phones for the most part in our pockets, especially people that are listening to this podcast. Those of us that have gone back to dumb phones, good on you. I can't do that yet. But those things are collecting information about us, and they send it off to stuff. There was one of the things that I looked at, one of the things, I think it was for the next episode maybe. Did I say that this was the Memorial Day episode? I was wrong. It is next episode, so forget it. It's not Happy Memorial Day. That's next time. But I think it's the next episode where I was talking about or wanting to talk about analytics and tracking. That'll be our next episode. But there are things, the creepy stuff that happens where you're like, I was talking about this, and then I got an ad for this, and why did that happen? Analytics is out there. It's doing it. So some of this is already happening, and it's just somebody trying to capitalize on it already by like getting their piece of that pie. But just the way that the Perplexity's president, CEO, is talking about this is not like
no,
cool.
it's not great. That interview is pretty rough. A lot of just the complete I think a complete lack of understanding how people work.
Mhm.
A lot of the see, okay, we're going to invade a massive amount of privacy, but customers are going to love it because then their ads will actually be useful to them. And I don't know anyone who's ever enjoyed an ad, regardless of how actually useful it was, if it was something they wanted or not, because people are just so conditioned to hate ads, and two, people are really conditioned to not like certain levels of privacy violation. Like we have not to name stuff at work, we have a product that's really struggling with adoption.
Mhm.
And one of the reasons it struggles with adoption is because even though we don't save any information, the platform itself does make some personal information about your home network visible, because it is something that we're giving to customers as part of their home network if they want it. And so some people are just like, I just don't like that. I know there's not a whole bunch of information, but I don't like that you can know based on bandwidth my most used website is Facebook, or my most used website is YouTube. I don't want you to know that information. Even if you don't save it anywhere, if I open up a case, the guy who looks at my device to my case can see that information. I don't like that. And that is so much less intrusive than what they're talking about with this browser.
Yes.
I want to know everything you're doing on your computer. I want to know every website you look at. I want to be able to predict every little thing you want and learn about you as a person.
Right.
It's like I need to be able to psychologically profile you.
Right.
And it's like people don't want that.
Yeah. People
Not
don't
at
want
all.
it, but that's not how they're going to sell it. Like, talking about that product, the very open and honest, hey, we don't want to look at your stuff. We don't care if you're like doing this or that. We just want to be able to help you fix your problem. Right? That's the intent of that thing. This is, hey, I don't care about your problem. I want you to buy things.
Yeah, exactly. It's about a specialized targeted ad. I don't care if tonight when I get home and I hop on my computer to maybe watch some YouTube before bed, it shows me an ad for a product that changes my life.
Doesn't
like
matter.
even if I go and buy that product, I'm like, this is the best product I've ever bought in my life. I love this product. I sing this product's praises to everyone in the world. I still don't like that I got an ad.
No.
You know?
I don't either. The only time I've ever heard people say that they like ads is the Super Bowl. But generally, it's for the public spectacle.
Yeah, because those are entertaining. Like that's not actually. But they're not really trying to get you to buy something. They're just advertising their company by making like a comedy skit.
Yeah, but it's also not so much that people are watching like a Super Bowl to watch the ads, although some people probably do. It's that everyone has decided that this is something that we can go talk about later.
Yeah.
And that this
is
a social
fun.
aspect. It's a social aspect of this thing. And, there's some humor there and there's some other things like that.
You're right.
Nobody's doing it for getting the advertisement served to them.
Oh yeah, 100%. There's never been a time where I've hopped on the work in the morning and immediately texted you like, hey, guess what this cool like new tab pop-up I got was?
Right.
No one...
No.
Like, I loved it when I clicked the link and it opened two tabs because one was an ad and one wasn't.
It made me so happy. I was so excited. But on the other hand, like things that are advertisements for things, sometimes we are influenced by it. Like, watch LTT, watch Linus Tech Tips. Love them or hate them, think that they're good or bad. They have some problems. Everybody becomes problematic eventually. Not defending any of that stuff. I like their screwdriver. I have a bunch of different screwdrivers. I bought one of their screwdriver kits because it looked like it was interesting. I watched a whole bunch of like reviews about it and stuff like that. They advertise that thing all the time.
Yeah.
I don't like the ads. I would prefer, sometimes I skip past them whenever I'm watching a video that I'm interested in. But I did like notice that they had a Noctua flavored screwdriver that I kind of like. The backpack's the same sort of thing. It interests me. I don't mind that so much. It is when you're going to take my chats with my kids.
Yeah.
And
100%.
You're going to, like, I'm talking to my best bud. And, like, me and you are, like, talking about something. And then suddenly I'm going to get advertised about this thing.
Yeah.
I don't care if Steam is like, hey, I'm promoting my Steam Deck. Or ROG is promoting its Ally or something like that. Don't care about that.
Yeah.
Do care that they looked at my...
Yeah, like
everything.
I saw you play Belantro, and records show that Belantro plays the best on the Steam Deck.
Yeah.
Get the Steam Deck now.
Exactly.
That's a level of why do you know that about me? I hate you.
Right. I don't want that. And so this, like, if you're a tech bro and you're like, hey, people are going to love me for this, they're not. They're not going to love you for that.
No.
That your investors might like you for it because they think that this is going to be like a good thing, but they're not. People aren't going to love you for this. Don't do this. As a matter of fact, I don't even want to talk about it anymore. Perplexity, I'm never going to install your thing. As a matter of fact, Motorola is putting, and Samsung are talking about putting Perplexity's AI into their phones, like as a default thing.
Yeah.
If that happens, I won't buy one of their products.
Oh yeah, 100%.
Yeah. So like most people may not know that. I won't be buying it. Like I don't even want like Gemini to be like slurping up all my data on a Pixel or whatever Siri has become to be doing that. But whatever. All right. So the last thing in more dystopian, disturbing bullcrap. ChatGPT is being used to unblur photos, to find location data without any metadata. It's not looking at like the coordinates in like something. It's like a video comes up. They show a document on the video. It's blurred out.
Yeah.
It removes the blurring. They show a picture of a location. You screenshot that and send it to ChatGPT, and ChatGPT's like, "Hey, this is in rural Kentucky at this location."
Yeah.
And they're not always right, but
they're pretty close.
They're generally pretty close.
Yeah. Yeah, it's hard to dial in like this location, but definitely like, oh, this is in rural Kentucky, it's about this latitude, let's longitude. Oh yeah, that's fairly accurate most of the time.
But it's so sometimes it hallucinates, sometimes it gets things wrong, but it's close.
Yeah.
Yeah. So I don't know what moral to take from this. Like,
I'm gonna give a hot take. I actually see no problem with it at all, and the reason is because I got into like computer puzzle games when I was younger. So like teenager on the internet, it was very common for people to just take a funny like little meme photo, mess it up with all sorts of different type of blurring styles, and the puzzle was to reverse it. Which you could if you knew what you were looking for and you knew what order to do things in as you experimented. You absolutely could take almost any censorship that wasn't just a straight black box, like anything that like scrambles pixels and stuff like that, or blurs pixels and things like that. You can undo them manually, no problem. Same thing with geoguessing. The way those things work is, and the why you don't need metadata is it's looking at the position of the sun, and like things like that to guess longitude and latitude. People that just take the time to learn how those things work can start doing those things fairly accurately, like within a week. Like it's not like it's a massively specialized skill set. Like if you really put your mind to it, you can know what you're doing with it pretty fast. I think really what ChatGPT is doing is highlighting how insecure these technologies that we think are secure are. People think, oh, if I don't have metadata on this picture, people can't trace it back to me. That's just factually not true. If you go look at the people who are like really good geoguessers, who like this is just like part of their persona, that like do it for like entertainment, you'll be like, oh, here's a picture outside of like as I'm taking off in a plane. And not only can they just be like, boom, this is the city you were in, like this is the flight you were on, this is the seat you were in.
Yeah. Because
that stuff just is
you can
traceable.
Figure that out.
You can figure that stuff out. Same thing with the blurring. Like again, unless you're going to do just like straight black boxes, you're going to overwrite the image. There is no like blur effect or anything like that can not be undone. It can sometimes take a little bit because if you like, and that's even if you do multiple. If you only do one, it's just done. It takes seconds. Like the puzzles I used to do, it would be people doing like 7 or 8 of them, and it's layers deep. And it's like you figure out the top layer, and you're like, okay, what would the next layer be? As you're trying to figure out this super scrambled thing. Like it just almost like you get images that look like even more messed up QR codes, like before QR codes were a thing, like just totally nonsensical pictures that then become some like I had cheeseburger or like whatever type of thing to it at the end. You know, so like I can't blame the AI for that one, except that it does make people's ignorance more apparent. But I think this is more of like a personal security, like OPSEC thing. Like we should just really be educating people, like don't do this. Don't post a picture of yourself somewhere if you're not okay with someone knowing where it is, because if they want to find out, they will find out.
They will find out.
You know, or like at least don't take a picture of the sky. You know, if you took a picture like we took a picture right here in your office, they'd have no idea.
Yeah, that's a little bit different. There's no location information in a room with no
exactly
like, outdoor.
Yeah, you know,
access.
Keep the sun out of frame, and a lot of times you're way better.
Yeah,
you know, don't put shadows in. But like even then, it's just also
or take
just like
a completely shadowed picture.
Yeah, or just like
shadows that you can see the direction of.
Yeah, or just in general, look. Don't post a picture online if you're not okay with people knowing where it was taken.
Yep. So the whole reason I said I don't know what moral to take from this is exactly that. Like this is something that's been around for forever. However, should ChatGPT just, going back to the insecurity of it, should ChatGPT be like, hey, this is where this is? I don't know. Like,
Yeah,
I could see that being used as maybe a tool to find somebody that's been like kidnapped or something, but also maybe it's not like a thing that like the guy that's stalking Hatsune Miku should be able to find. Like, I don't.
Yeah, so they did make a statement on that in the article near the end, if I'm remembering correctly, where they were like, look, the technology's there. We're not going to, like, not do it.
Right.
But what we do is, like, try and constantly, like, update our security for prompts that might be problematic.
Right.
And I think that's the direction to go with it. It's not that, like, it's not like ChatGPT is special being able to do this. Because, like I said, like, just regular people could figure out how to do it themselves very quickly. But probably also, maybe you're uploading a picture and you're like, hey, this looks like a picture of, like, people.
Yeah.
I don't know if I should be okay with that. Like, if it's a picture of a park and there's no obvious people in it, sure, maybe. Well, you know what park that is. But if looks like it's a picture of, like, 4 people, like, friends, and you want to know where it was taken, maybe that's when you say, I don't know. You know, like, where they draw that line on the arbitrary, we're going to try and protect people from their own lack of security.
I mean, I agree with that. I think that's more it. It's just like a weird. It's not a bad thing, but it's not a good thing either. It's like a weird tool to have an AI doing for people at such a massive scale that they don't have to learn this. They don't have to put forth the effort, because a lot of times the effort puts the barrier of entry in. It's the same thing as like it's the same sort of concept. It's not the exact same thing as like when you have like the presence of a police officer in the area and it deters things like the
100%.
effort that you have to do to get over the barrier to speed or to do this is not worth the amount of trouble that you'll probably get into, or like, something like that. But when you can just be like, hey, where's this at? It just kind of like eliminates that barrier,
Yeah, it does eliminate the barrier. And I think to that point, like, it's not going to really deter or enhance someone who truly wants to do harm, because it's not that hard of a skill to learn.
Right.
But you're right. It does, like, for someone just doing it casually, it could potentially be problematic.
Right, exactly. So I don't know, like of all that's also why I ended on this one, because it's not nearly as depressing as it sounds
That's
like.
true.
But it's
I just
also
talk about my hobbies from high school. Because that's how big of a nerd I was.
I mean, we're both pretty big nerds still. If we had been friends, if like we were the same age and we had been friends in high school, we would have been the guys who were constantly doing experiments together.
Oh,
like
probably.
One of us
just doing computer stuff.
Yeah, doing computer, or I would have been like the artsy dude who like was interested in computers, and I would be like, or have like those moments
like,
where
I did like a lot of fractal art in high school, so we were bonded over that.
Yeah, like just like doing some weird stuff that other people didn't understand, but like turns out to be like really cool stuff. Yeah. We would probably have been doing geoguessing games and stuff like that too.
Yeah.
It's not harmful necessarily, but it can be.
Yeah.
Is ultimately the end thing. But anyways, I don't know what else to say about that, so we're just going to end it here. This is season 8. Oh wait, we got to talk about our beer. I almost forgot to do that.
I
again.
did it twice.
Twice.
I said it, and now we just don't think about it anymore.
I know you did.
Ooh, that's actually a really good one.
Yeah, it brings out a little bit more of like
it's more citrus and honey.
Yeah, like honey and cider. I get like a little bit of apple crispness from it. I kind of like it better like this. Like mine's still cold enough that I would say it's cool. So it's probably in the low 60s, mid upper 50s. It's a little bit warmer than the last beer I had, but still.
Yeah, no, it's good. It loses some of the refreshing for a little bit more like sweetness and a little bit more body to it.
Yeah, which that's normal. Like you lose that little bit.
Yeah, that's kind of the trend every time I do this. Is like, oh, it opens up more notes, and it does. But like,
this is good.
Are those notes good? Yeah, this is good. But this is why I like doing it, because like sometimes, like with the last beer we saw, that the new notes not necessarily that great.
Yeah, well, they were okay.
It was just the same thing. It was the same level of good. It didn't get better. It just got different.
Yeah,
or this is, I think, like someone like I personally prefer it cold. Others I think would prefer it warm. I think it's enough of a flavor change that like people would have a preferred serving temperature.
It kind of reminds me of some of the meads I've made, and so
Mhm.
like I kind of like that.
Yeah.
You know. All right. Well, this has been season 8, episode 6 of the Beer and Broadband podcast, slated to come out on May 19th, 2025. And this is not the Memorial Day episode. That is next episode. Thanks for listening. We'll catch you next time.